on Tuesday, October the 15th. I'd like to call this general committee meeting to order. May I have a motion to approve the agenda, including the additional items that have been circulated? Now, just don't jump in all at once. Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Anyone else want to second this? Oh, we're having a meeting. Thank you, Harold. All those in favor? Oh, sorry. Any questions or comments on the agenda? All those in favor? Thank you. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? And if there are, what are they, please? Seeing none, community presentations. We have no community presentations this evening, but we do have one delegation. Deborah Scott, resident, is here about item R6, which is concerning Kitimat Crescent, Aurora Heights Public School, alternative solutions to safety concerns. Thank you for coming, Deborah.
Thank you, Councillor Gartner. I assume you're the chair this evening? Yes. So through you, Chair, Mayor Maracas, and Council. I am not, just to be clear, I'm not a resident of the town of Aurora. My name is Deborah Scott, and I'm a retired Nana to 9 grandchildren, and 2 of who live here in Aurora. Late last fall, my daughter was able to return to work part-time after a car accident, and which she is still recovering from her injuries. I offered to assist with after-school pickup, or she would have had to pay for full-time daycare to secure a space, although she was only working 2 days. Last March, I was shocked to hear that a sidewalk that had been approved by the previous council, of which I understand 5 councillors were on the previous council, that this sidewalk was not proceeding. On March the 20th, I emailed the mayor, council, and the main email, info@aurora.ca, with my safety concerns. Some councillors responded to my email, and I thank you. A week later, I resent my email to the town's main info@ address, as no staff had responded. I was then passed along to a transportation analyst for more info, where I also requested to be informed of any further reports on this issue. I'm very disappointed to say, and upset, that no staff has ever contacted me regarding this issue. This past Thursday at 3:30, before the long weekend, another parent shared a letter that was sent to the Kitimat Crescent houses dated October the 4th. This letter states that staff was instructed to report on alternative solutions to safety and would do so at today's meeting. From my understanding, this is as a result of council overturning staff's recommendation for a sidewalk that was approved in the 2018 budget and would have been installed this year. I understand that the crossing guard, who is here this evening as well, also was in touch verbally as well as in writing and asked to be kept informed of this issue. And today, because of the long weekends, first chance a lot of us have had to talk, she also was not kept informed of any reports. Friday before the long weekend, I contacted the clerk's office, and they kindly sent me copies of a report that was issued May the 2nd, which none of us had seen, on this issue along with tonight's agenda. This is completely unacceptable. How can parents and grandparents provide input without any notification concerning this issue? From what I read in the report, the only recommendation seems to address residents concerned about parked cars. I don't see where any pedestrian safety and accessibility concerns are being addressed to comply with AODA legislation. Implementing more parking restrictions may reduce homeowners' continued complaints, but will also force pedestrians to walk more than twice as far on the road. And as we just heard, it's icy, has ruts, and is unsafe for seniors, which I can now claim to be. Plus, when we were walking towards the school on the south side, where the parking is to be restricted, we won't even be facing traffic. Your own staff still recommends a sidewalk in their report as the best option to address safety concerns, as other suggested options simply do not work. This new recommendation is still extremely unsafe, especially when I have my 2.5-year-old grandson with me who wants to break free and run all the time. I currently can't lift him due to a shoulder injury. He is past the stroller age, and I don't think I could push a stroller in the snow anyways. Last winter, it was treacherous on the road walking. It will be only worse this year. As this gentleman has previously requested, he wants more snow plowing because he too has admitted as a resident that the road is unsafe to walk on. None of the adjacent streets not just Kitimat, that come out onto Tecumseh have any sidewalks, so there are no options. I often see young pregnant moms pushing strollers in the middle of this road with kindergarten-age kids walking with them. There's also a double stroller with twins and a young toddler holding on. I can't imagine how they're going to manage this in the winter. I understand the intent of your Safe Schools policy, as I launched and managed the Central York Smart Commute program for 12 years, and I applaud the town's work in this area. My own daughter walks her kids to school when she is home. People like myself have no choice but to drive. I challenge the mayor and each councillor to meet with me this winter during a snowstorm and walk back and forth in the middle of the road. Perhaps then you will find the courage to make the right decision for pedestrian safety. Politicians should listen to their staff who are hired because of their expertise. I hope you have the courage to do what your staff recommended in 2018 as the best, and today as the best safety option, which is a sidewalk. To be a leader in these times of constant complaining, vision and courage are needed more than ever. I also was asked late today to bring in a petition that was started late Friday, and they'd have 40 names already, even though it was a long weekend and half the kids weren't at school on Friday afternoon. And I also would like to mention that the principal of the school is here with me today as well. So could I leave this with
Linda?
And the person starting the petition that asked me to bring it in, I believe she has forwarded it as well, and she wants to continue to collect names. And the last request that we have as a group is please delay any decision-making until you allow the parents to have a meeting and express their concerns on what they're finding in this particular area due to pedestrian safety. Thank you.
Thank you. I thank you very much for coming. It's not easy to stand up there at that podium.
Haven't done that for a while.
Are there any questions of the delegate? Oh, motion to receive and refer to the item. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, John. Are there any questions of the delegate? Actually, no. I have a question. So, with respect to the sidewalk on Kitimat, that's just part of our sidewalk policy now, and residents can come forward and ask that it be changed, just as it was before. If we didn't put a sidewalk down, residents could come forward. I'm not sure which parents you're talking, a meeting of which parents you're talking about. Are those parents on Kitimat?
No, these are the parents that are that have signed the petition to have a sidewalk installed, and they're parents of school children at the school. There are 40 signatures as of this evening, and that was after a long weekend and late notice on Friday.
So these may not necessarily be parents of children who walk on Kitimat to get to school, or
they
just
may be.
parents in general?
They may be. I'm sorry, I don't know. I couldn't say.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
All those in favor? Thank you. Okay. We have no consent agenda tonight. We have no advisory committee meetings minutes. So we'll go to consideration of items on the regular agenda, starting with number 1. Would anyone like to put that on the floor? Thank you, John. Thank you, Michael. This number 1 concerns Library Square, the veil, the covering that is going to be put on part of the new building that we're building that will be adjoining the Cultural Center. Are there any comments or questions on this? Thank you. I have some. And sorry, John, Councillor Gallo?
Just, I guess, a quick question in terms of cost. Going with the recommended option, does that change the budget in any way?
Through me to Ms. McDougall.
Through Madam Chair. Looking at the cost estimates, I did obtain some feedback from the consultants today. And although we're not down to the final estimate, based on the latest, there's approximately $40,000 difference between the copper and the bronze. Bronze being the $40,000 less. Aside from that, the product itself will be reviewed again as we get closer to the Class A estimate for December.
Thank you.
Could you remind us what the cost is?
Certainly, sorry about that. Through you, Madam Chair, the cost for the bronze is 1.4 million, and the copper is well, sorry, I guess I have to spell that out. Bronze is 1.423, and the copper is 1.463.
Thank you. And we had a conversation a little earlier talking about the spacing that's in the bronze and in the copper. And in the bronze, the spacing is much smaller due to the nature of the material. So I'd like to say that I would have preferred to see a material choice that mirrored more the tone of the school, which to me is more of a gray-brown, and of course the color of the roof, which I would call closer to a cranberry. So I state my objection actually to both. But if we're going to be going with those choices, I do prefer the bronze. I have two concerns, Ms. McDougall. One is there will be things that are going to get caught in there. We were talking about birds' nests earlier, but there would be twigs and leaves, etc. So how often will this need to be cleaned? How will it be done?
Through you, Madam Chair, the maintenance on the, a couple of things to address your questions. To remove twigs or things that might get caught, ultimately, it depends how caught they are. If it's just a seasonal the leaves resting, it could be just waiting for the next wind and it'll be lifted away. If it's something that is there for an extended period of time, we do have our boom trucks that could come to the side and maybe pull from and remove the item that's sitting out to the edge of the veil. Alternatively, these pieces that are being installed can be individually removed. So it's not just one large chunk, that there are, I think it's 4x8s was the latest measurement, I believe, segments of these pieces of veil that can be removed.
And, I mean, is that a simple thing to do? This is said to be a relatively low, or is said to be a low maintenance covering for that wall. I mean, do the trucks, how do you remove panels?
Through you, Madam Chair, reading the information from our consultants, they are simply stainless steel Phillips pan head screw heads that can be removed with a drill to remove the bits. And our tools, our systems will be able to do so with the appropriate boom and lift to pull it down.
Okay, so we have, thank you. So we have equipment that can get up nice and close and perform the cleaning should it be required? We won't need to purchase anything or have an outside contractor?
I believe I can ask my fellow director here how tall and high the boom can go.
That would be good, thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So through Madam Chair, we rent a boom truck, so it would be part of our regular programming. So if there was an issue, we would then put that in the schedule of whenever we would need a boom truck for streetlight maintenance or sports field maintenance or tree cutting or those types of things. So that would simply be an additional work order for that vehicle.
Thank you. And would we hire the staff as well to operate the machinery, or can we do that?
No, that would be, the vehicle comes with staff, and so that's part of the rental.
Thank you. And the veil doesn't go up to the height of that surface. So it's, we've got the veil, and then we've got actually two different surfaces that are raised above that. Did we ever consider taking the veil right to the top? I know it is on an angle. I see smiles over there. Not sure what that means. Did we consider taking it to the top? Because what we have is the bottom layer, then we have the veil, and then we have the angle, and then we have...
Through you, Madam Chair, the original design had it going right to the, even with the rooftop. And due to recommendations from the the Heritage Committee, that it was to be dropped down so that the highest point of the veil was in line with the roof line of the school.
Thank you. And the last question I have concerns lighting. I think it would be, especially in light of my former comment about the color of the veil not really jiving with the Church Street School coloring, could we put a colored LED light system in place, like they have at the CN Tower, so that we could also be changing the coloring of the lights that are behind the veil?
Through Madam Chair, they're nodding that it's possible. We could have them investigate that as an option.
Thank you. So when you come back, please, with the final design of the panels, I think it says in the report you'll be deciding on the lighting once we make our decision. Could you take that into consideration? And will council be will we be looking at that final design?
Through you, Madam Chair, the direction tonight we're hoping for is council to approve the veil design, the choice, and with that will come final assessment of the lighting capability and what we want to put behind the function. It would not be coming back for council for additional approval.
I would like to make a motion that it does, because there's a lot of different examples in the appendix of how the different lighting placements are going to look from a distance, and I think that council should be involved in that. Would anyone like to second that amendment? No, I can't do that? Next week. I can do that next week. Thank you very much. Maybe council could think about it, because it's a really big deal how the pattern of the lights will show. And I think we should be making that final decision. Of course, the architects will guide us because they have better visual knowledge than we do. But I still think that it should be a final council decision. Thank you. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you. Through you to Mr. McDougall. Robin, in the report, it talks about the Ontario Heritage Trust supported the design, that it was given to them to provide feedback on the context of the Heritage Impact Assessment. Can you expand on any comments they may have made with respect to the support for these materials in the design?
I know it's here somewhere, pardon me, Madam Chair.
It's on page 2.
No, but looking for the OHT feedback. Sorry about that. I don't have my fingers on it. But with regards to their feedback, they did review both materials, and they are in support of the material, especially since with the characteristic of it that it does age, and that in support and complementary to the aging asset that it's adjacent or being attached to. As far as the materials, they didn't have one favored over the other. They were welcoming of both. They felt both for those reasons was acceptable.
But in their, sorry, through you to Ms. McDougall again, but in their opinion, they still find it complementary to the Church Street School.
Through you, Madam Chair, yes, they do find it complementary.
Thank you.
Councillor Kim.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm not a design expert, but having seen quite a few historic buildings in eastern part of Canada with copper roofs that age green, I'm in favor of the copper myself. It's not a deal breaker for me, but we'll see how the vote goes. But I would be in favor of the copper. Thank you.
Councillor Gallo.
Thank you. Just on the subject of coming back to council, will a final design be coming, or is this the last time we see this in terms of design and look and all of that? Ms. McDougall, through
Ms.
you.
McDougall, sorry, thank you.
Through Madam Chair, the December report will have a summary and highlights of any of the design changes that have taken place since June. Anything that we've been revising of a major significance, we would be bringing that to council's attention in December's report. Other than that, it won't be coming back as a whole compilation, because we ultimately have been keeping you informed as we progress. So the December report will be highlighting what is significantly different from our June presentation to you.
So through you, has the detailed design been approved by council, I guess is the question.
Through Madam Chair, no, that is partly what's the presentation in December. So there will be a presentation by our consultants at that time going over the review of the project and the highlights of those, the features of importance, certainly of attention that we need to draw your attention to that have changed since July's report. And that'll be at that time that council will give us hopefully the direction to proceed to tender.
Okay, so at that point, we'll be approving the detailed design. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. If there are no other questions, all those in favor? Opposed? That carries. Thank you. On to item number 2. Could I have a mover and a seconder for that? This is the proposed smoking and vaping bylaw. Michael and John. Thank you. Well, oh, you didn't second this? Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Would anyone like to speak to this? Okay. Then, all those in favor? Sorry, Councillor Gilliland. You may speak to it.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. Just quick clarity on the changes. I know you highlighted East Gwillimbury's on public property, sidewalks, roads, commercial businesses. Is that what we're trying to mirror by that highlight? Just want to make sure that that's what we're trying to do.
Mr. Serio.
Through you, Madam Chair, the highlight was not supposed to be there. So those aren't the changes that are being made. What the attachment shows is just the check marks show where in the different municipalities people are able to smoke, and the X's are where people are not able to smoke. That's all that is.
Okay, perfect. All right, it was just confusing because I thought that maybe was what you were trying to say, and I couldn't see in the report what you were trying to say. But we will be receiving another report brought forward with the recommendations based on the bylaw against vaping and tobacco
Just the
and
bylaw.
cannabis.
Through you, Madam Chair, no, there won't be another report.
Oh, you want nothing
This
specific?
is the report, and then if this is accepted by council, then we would be bringing forward a bylaw for enactment.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. I actually have a question maybe for next week. We're putting aside, or thinking of putting aside $75,000 for this. I'd like to know how many signs we're anticipating. At 70, I'm thinking if there's 75 signs, that's $1,000 a sign. That seems, I'm sure we won't need that many signs, and it does seem exorbitant to me. Mr. Downey, you're going to take a stab at this?
Through you, in conversation with senior management, we determined we needed about 500 signs. So we went out and got a cost estimate for 500 signs, stakes, and installation.
That's a lot of signs, Mr.
Well-
Downey. No, I'm sure if you feel we need them to properly.
If we have 80 parks and we have 3 or 4 entrances into the park, we need 3 or 4 signs for each park. We need a sign at each trail entrance. We would need a sign at each property.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I've been remiss. I didn't introduce Mr. Alexander Way. who is manager of our bylaw department, who does an excellent job and is a very busy man. So thank you for coming to the table tonight in place of Ms. Van Leeuwen, I assume. Thank you. Okay, all those in favor? That passes, thank you. On to item 3. We have a presentation on item 3. Item 3 is, say it again. Deputy Chief, welcome to the podium. You beat me to my welcome.
Madam Chair, through you to His Worship, to all the councillors, to the CAO, to all Aurora staff, thank you for the invitation and happy belated happy Thanksgiving. The intent for my visit this evening is to provide you a high-level presentation on what CYFS is embarking on in 2020. Through 2 years of collecting data and analysis, Central York Fire Services presented a report to the JCC, which was then approved to bring it forward to Newmarket Council in preparation of a cost recovery program. I provided a quick level PowerPoint slide for you. I'll keep it short and simple and sweet. Basically, the cost recovery program works in such a way where CYFS responds to a 911 call, a motor vehicle collision. CYFS provides service, as we all know, with vehicle collisions and extrications to the parties involved, and that's for both Newmarket and Aurora. Services provided by Central York Fire Services may involve things such as extrication, as I mentioned. We provide medical aid to patients that are involved in the collisions. We act as blocker trucks, and we also do hazmat cleanup. The fire captain works with police on the scene to gather relevant information. And in our case, we're focusing on license plates for the vehicles that are involved in the collision from all parties. CYFS then returns to the fire station, and then the fire captain starts creating the report. Police create their report, and they post it on a website called the Requester Information Systems, otherwise known as ARIS. Some of you might have know about that program. The captain creates an incident report, which we always do for all incidents that we attend. Administration staff uses the firehouse report to collect motor vehicle collision data to submit to ARIS. Administration staff buys ARIS reports, and it's $14 for every search that we do on a license plate. Administration staff then creates a database, which includes the police report, an invoice, and we bill the at-fault party. When we're gain access into the ARIS website, we are allowed access into the police report, and then we could determine who's at fault. The administration staff then send an invoice directly to the address of the at-fault party. Payments received in 30 days. And then the file is closed. Should a resident or non-resident wish not to pay their invoice, then if you are a resident of Aurora Newmarket, the invoice would be applied to your property taxes. I've had conversations with our finance and Town of Newmarket finances to allow for this to happen. And if you're a non-resident, then the use of a collection agency would be used. Of course, the collection agency would then be subject to a certain percentage of that invoice for their services. I just want you to note that at any time, the fire chief or his designate can waive the invoice upon his or her discretion. So the current status of the cost recovery program on September 3, Fire Service Report 2019-03, Motor Vehicle Collisions Cost Recovery Program, was presented to the JCC. I believe Mr. Durant distributed it to all the councillors. I hope you had a chance to read it. On September 9th, the Town of Newmarket Council approved the Fire Services Report 2019-3. And a couple of weeks ago, on October the 3rd, the Town of Newmarket Council approved 2 bylaws, and that was 2019-60 and 2019-61. Our next steps. Last week, I just completed the application to submit to the Ministry of Transportation so we could be able to set up our authorized Requester Information Systems account. We are a couple of weeks to post for a part-time CYFS accounts administrator to administer the cost recovery program for us, pending council approval in December. We are in preparation administratively to process and develop templates for invoicing. We're working with finance to develop some sort of process or a flow, how it's going to all flow through. And on January 1, 2020, we will be starting the billing for motor vehicle collisions. Motor vehicle collisions is just one of the cost recoveries that are going to be part of this program. We currently have in our fees and schedule, we currently invoice for nuisance alarms, and that's basically if we attend someone's residence or business probably 3 times for the same incident, then we tend to bill. And then we also bill for hazmat-related incidents. So this would just be added as part of the recovery program. It's my hopes in quarter 2 of 2020, I would like to prepare another report to the JCC to expand the cost recovery program, where I'll outline other services that we provide that I feel that we are able to obtain some cost recovery to those services we provide. Items such as gas leaks, post-fire incidents. However, I'll lay it out for the JCC, and then we'd be taking direction from them. I won't go into the bylaws. Mr. Durant distributed them for me, and if anyone would like to ask any questions, I would feel free to take any questions at this time.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Motion to receive. Thank you, Councillor Thompson and Mr. Mayor. Councillor Gallo.
Thank you. Thank you for coming, Deputy Chief. I recall when this first came to JCC, and one of my comments when I was on there was, I think it's really important to have this publicized as much as we can to both municipalities. I was representing Aurora, and I'm a little bit shocked, and I'll ask later about the clerk in terms of how this the authority to move this forward went about, because this is to receive. This has happened.
Yeah,
this is a decision from JCC and clearly Newmarket Council in terms of passing bylaws. So maybe it's not so much a question or a comment, but I'm struggling a little bit because while I don't necessarily disagree with what we're doing, the opportunity for our residents to be informed that this is what's happening and additional costs and the whole program, I just don't feel we've really given them a lot of time to digest this, and ultimately, even if they wanted to weigh in, the decision is not made at this table and affecting our residents. I don't expect you to comment on the process. I'll ask the clerk afterwards, but I just wanted to mention that.
Thank you, Councillor Gallo. Good point. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you. Thank you, Deputy Chief Olpe, for being here this evening. Just quickly, It's been mentioned in the report that all the other municipalities in York Region, their fire service already have this program implemented. Central York, Newmarket, Aurora, the last to bring this program forward. Do you know how many years those municipalities have been doing a program like this? Is it recent, a few years, many years?
Madam Chair, through you to Councillor Thompson. I first started my career about 23 years ago with Richmond Hill Fire Services. And when I was a firefighter there, moving up through the ranks, there was a cost recovery program in place at the time, instituted by Fire Chief Kennedy. At the time, they only invoiced for non-residents. I would say about 10, 15 years ago, Fire Chief at the time, Baker, then went back to council and asked if it could be expended to residents and non-residents. So I would say for that was probably about 10, 15 years ago. After I served with Richmond Hill Fire Services, I then was successful and was honored to be the Deputy Fire Chief for Witchart-Stouffville. And I was there for about 6 years. I've been here now for 4, and at the time, that's where I had the opportunity to implement such a program with Witchart-Stouffville. So I would say for Witchart-Stouffville, it's been about 10 years. For the other ones, I'm not sure, Councillor.
That's fine, I appreciate it. And to the best of your knowledge, would you say that this is a fairly common program to have in most fire departments in Ontario? Or are we sort of York Region unique that way?
Madam Chair, through you to Councillor Thompson, it is a common practice in the fire services. Although the fire service through council could set their own rate, such as Vaughan has, which exceeded the MTO, to make things fair and justifiable, I decided to present it to JCC as an MTO rate, being that 477.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Kim.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Deputy Chief, for coming out. And my question is this is a 24-month pilot project, and what would be defined as a successful project to keep this going? I'm sure that there must have been certain metrics that's been discussed. Is it merely revenues collected over the 2 years, or is it the amount of decline in false alarm calls and other type of incidences like that? Can you extrapolate on that, please?
Madam Chair, through you to Councillor Kim. Although, I guess, short and sweet, the project is a 2-year pilot, and I requested for a part-time person. So I guess after the first year, I would like to show the revenue generated to JCC, and obviously request that it continue on for that second year. So I guess at the end of the second year, I would be able to present with my analysis and data and actuals what the revenue Central York Fire Services made minus the wage that I would have to pay for the part-time person. At that time, I would be seeking JCC approval if they would wish to continue the program, or they would like to cancel the program and remove that from the cost recovery program. You're probably wondering about the permanent part-time person, then what would happen to that person after 2 years? It was just briefly discussed that in the fire master plan, when Central York Fire Services moves to Station 4-5, it talked about bringing in an FTE for administrative support. I did mention to council that it would be my intentions to take this person and build them into that FTE, or keep that person at 3 days and ask for an additional 2 days, which would give me that FTE and absorb that program into it. So to answer your question, I'm not sure where it's going to go after 2 years, but I would be able to be in a better position to present the actuals and then get direction from JCC and how they would like to proceed.
Okay. Thank you. And through you, Madam Chair, so what I'm hearing is that the basis of a successful pilot project is mostly based on revenue generation as opposed to a decline in false alarms or any of those types of criteria.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Chief. It's a very serious issue. And if I'm reading this correctly, according to the 2018 figures that you're citing, about $200,000 would have been raised using option 3, and then you take away the cost for the salary, it's $150,000 plus. That's a lot of money. And of course, we want our fire department to be sustainable and as self-supporting as possible.
That is correct, Madam Chair. If you look at,
No, you go.
If you look in the report on page,
Page 8,
page 4.
page 4.
I was able to, through our records management software, be able to pull out all the motor vehicle collisions that we average in a year. So dating right back from 2015 right up to 2018, you could see we average about 570 MVCs per year.
570. So doing the math, 570 into 200,000. So let's just take an average. So that could cost a person $50,000?
So depending on the severity of the
Yeah,
incident,
that's
Madam
true.
Chair, a minimum response for Central York Fires on a motor vehicle collision is a 2-truck response.
Okay.
So right off the bat, it would be 477 times 2 because we'd be invoicing per truck. Now, I would only be invoicing if the truck arrived on scene and performed some sort of service. So I do have particular guidelines that they would have to adhere to, like the crew would have to be on scene greater than 15 minutes. They would have to present some sort of service to the patients. If it's a bigger type incident, like we just had a couple of days ago when it dealt with a dump truck and we committed 4 apparatus, then that would be 477 times 4. So the invoicing can move anywhere from 900 to up to about 2,000.
Okay, so we're not, I don't know where I got 50,000 from. So we're not talking about an amount of money that could potentially bankrupt a person.
No.
Just make them responsible.
No, Madam Chair. At the last JCC meeting, I was asked if this is an acceptable practice through the insurance companies. And with the assistance of Richmond Hill, I was able to obtain 3 invoices that they submitted to 3 different insurance companies and demonstrated how insurance companies would pay for these types of invoices. So it would be part of your bigger claim that you would submit to your
Okay.
insurance company. However, you do have the choice to make payment outside of your insurance company if you wish to do so.
So that wouldn't affect your policy.
Correct. That's why the invoicing would go directly to the registered owner of the vehicle.
Thank you. So that was my last question. Insurance companies no longer go through that at fault, not at fault naming on the claims, as far as I know. I may be wrong with that. I thought it was all no fault insurance now.
That still exists, Madam Chair. However, with access to the police report,
Right.
I will be able to see who caused the accident, and from that, I would be able to invoice that person directly.
Thank you
this-
very much. And to Councillor Gallows, again, it's not part of your business, but we don't have any choice but approving this because Newmarket already has. That's my understanding, Mr. Clerk?
Through you, Madam Chair, I'm not prepared to speak too in-depthly on this tonight, but I understand, I think a bylaw was passed by Aurora Town Council in about 2003 Part of that bylaw was terms of reference for the Joint Council Committee, which oversees CYFS, and part of the bylaw as well was delegating the authority to the Joint Council Committee for matters like this.
Thank you.
No problem.
So, Mr. CAO? So, to Councilor Gallo's point, the public, this is going to be pretty short notice for the public in general. Is this, how are we going to communicate this out? Or do you have any ideas on the communication and the notice process on this?
To you, Madam Chair. Right now, our intent was to post this report, and we could certainly, through communications, look at other ways using social media and our other normal communication vehicles to get the word out that this is coming.
Thank you. And you agree with Mr. Clerk's assessment that we don't have any choice in this because of the contract that we have at this moment? The agreement that we have at this moment?
Well, to you, Madam Chair, I guess council always has a choice in these things, but I guess that it would be the process that you would follow if you disagreed with this, that we would have to get more details on.
Thank you. So the next time that this agreement or an agreement comes up for renewal, could we try and make it a little bit better for RAR to maybe have equal say in this? Or could you just look into it, what the process would be to adjust the agreement?
The JCC agreement you're talking about?
Oh, thank you again, Councillor Thompson. So we've got the motion on the floor. Approval. Sorry, Chief. Vote to approve receipt and referral of Deputy Chief's presentation for information. All those in favor? That carries. Thank you. Okay. Item number 4. Nope. Motion to receive item number 4, which number 3, the covering report for this issue. Thank you, Councillor Kim. Thank you, Councillor Thompson. All those in favor? No. Oh, we have a question from Councillor Gallo. Thank you.
I wouldn't mind, doesn't have to happen tonight, but a little more detail on the process of this, and perhaps the JCC members, when it came to JCC, maybe some context in terms of the decision that was made there. And I mean, when I was last there, I remember distinctly suggesting that it's a significant enough change. I'll be honest, I didn't realize we weren't going to actually make a decision at the council table. But it was a significant enough change that enough effort should be made to let the residents know this is happening, even if it's paid by the insurers. Let's face it, premiums go up, and all kinds of ramifications are attached to that. And I think it's I guess we've given authority to JCC to make these decisions on our behalf, but I'd be curious to see what the discussion at the table was, as well as some further information on the delegated authority for this, and directly charging residents as a result of implementing this program. How that money is going to be split. Do we have to implement the bylaw? There just seems to be a lot of questions for me.
Thank you, Councillor Gallo. Okay, all those in favor? That carries. Mr. Clerk.
Councilor Gallo again.
Opposed? Councillor, wait, we've already voted, so. Can I accept Councillor Gallo's comment? Sorry, Councillor Gallo, could you make your comment next week? Thank you. Okay, moving on to item number 4. Mr. Mayor, we have
No, I want to ask if we can move R6 forward.
Yes, I think that's a great idea. Thank you. My apology for not thinking of that. Motion to move R6 forward. Mr. Mayor, Councillor Gilliland, all those in favor? Thank you. Item 6. Who would like to put that on the table? No.
I want to defer this. If you can let me speak.
Perhaps, as nobody's jumping to put this on the table, somebody could I'm sorry, we should just do the motion to refer, to receive part?
I'll put a motion to receive at this moment so I can speak to it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Gilliland. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was speaking with Councillor Humphreys as well, and she's not here. She actually has a lot to say on this issue as well, and we're hearing from the residents and parents in the area, and so I would like to defer this until the next GC cycle to allow for staff to work with the residents and the parents and speak with, so we can discuss this amongst councilors to come with a better solution to this, whether we do look at going back to sidewalks or whatever those safety issues are that we're going to come up with. I think everyone has to work together and come up with a solution that's going to be in the best interest of the residents in the area and the parents that have their children attending the school. So I'd just like to put a deferral.
Thank you. Could we hear from Councillor Gilliland? You'll second the motion. We can speak to a deferral? Oh. Yes. Yes, please.
Through you, Madam Chair, Mr. Mayor, would you consider a referral back to staff with the understanding that it comes back on the November 5th? Then we could, deferral sort of means that we wouldn't change the report, and there might be, okay, referral back to staff then, thank you.
Thank you. The seconder is fine with that. Thank you very much. Okay, Councillor Gilliland speaking to that referral.
Through you, Madam Chair, I feel the exact same way. That should be referred back to staff. I was not really quite happy with the solutions that were brought back to council. I feel like we can do better. I was also waiting on some comments from Mr. Downey about what we could do better thinking outside the box operationally. I'm still waiting for maybe some feedback on that. Mr. Mayor, you had mentioned working with parents and the residents, but I'd also like staff to also work with the school, and hopefully the school is willing to also work with staff as well and to consider some options with them. Mr. Downey, would you happen to have any update for me maybe today based on an email that I sent you last week?
I apologize. I don't know what email you're referring to.
Okay, so perhaps I'll resend that email and then we can kind of talk offline and maybe I'll get a little bit more clarity on the operational side.
Thank you.
And maybe your options. Thank you.
Would anybody else like to speak to this? So I would like to thank the three ladies in front of me who have taken the trouble to come out tonight. And I especially would like to thank our crossing guard who wrote us all a very detailed letter with some good suggestions, and who also has come out on a limb because she wants to try and do what's right for the kids. So I thank you very much, and I think a deferral is definitely in order. What am I doing?
Go to me.
Go. Thank you. Mr. Clerk?
Just to be clear, the motion doesn't say November 5th, but that is, or are we comfortable leaving it open-ended, or do we want that back on the 5th? This is fine? Okay.
So it's understood by staff that we want this back as quickly as possible?
As quickly as possible, not necessarily November.
Okay, is that seconder for this motion that also says to be presented on November 5th? I'm sorry, Councillor Thompson, did you second it originally? So that's fine with you. So do we need to wait until Linda puts that up, or can we vote on it? Okay, it's understood that it's going to be November 5th, so we can go ahead and vote on this. All those in favor? All those opposed? That carries. Thank you very much. Thank you very much again for coming. So now to item number, do we have to go back to the main motion?
Nope.
That's good. Okay, we're now on R4, which is the Community Engagement Policy Report that has also come back to Council. Are there any comments on this? Okay. And who's going to second this? Did we eat too much for Thanksgiving dinner? Thank you, Councillor Kim. Okay. Would anybody like to make any comments on this? Okay, I have a comment. Okay, thank you, Councillor Gilliland.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. I just really want to understand a little bit more of the Empower Grid, and additional decision-making is placed on the hands of the public. Town staff are expected to implement what public has decided. Is this a step that's intended with council direction, or is this a recommendation that will be applied from staff on the report?
Before you start, are you talking about the description on page 4?
9.
You're talking about the chart?
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Mackenzie Smith.
Through you, Madam Chair. The final stage would really be only as directed by council, and the final decision would still be in the hands of council. It would just be that expectation would be that it would be implemented. But that council would still have the final authority.
Through you, Madam Chair.
Sorry, I apologize for my voice.
I'm just wondering, is that a recommendation that it says on the procedures and on page 8 that you're going to have a section in the communications part of considerations section? I just wondered if that was something that was going to be on the considerations, or is that kind of after council direction as a consideration by staff?
Through you, Madam Chair. Excellent question. I think that generally speaking, it would not necessarily be something that staff would recommend. So it would be really at the direction of council.
Thank you.
Following on that, looking at page 4, the final stage of engagement is empowerment. It seems to me that that would be used in very rare cases, which would involve town-wide issues of major significance. So it would be rarely used, but it does have its place. Thank you. And it also is, it seems to me that it's a situation where council is looking to the public to take the lead. Although it's always a council decision, it would be a situation where we would be asking for the public to give their opinion, and we would be listening to it because of the import of whatever it is. Am I correct on that?
Through you, Madam Chair, your interpretation is correct.
Thank you. Okay. All those in favor? All those opposed? That carries. Thank you. I think maybe Mr. Clerk was right. We may not need a break tonight. We're going on to item 5. Would anyone like to move this? Okay. Does anyone want to discuss number 5? Because we, okay, but I don't, thank you, Councillor Kim. Okay, does anyone have any comments? Thank you. Mayor Maracus?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm glad to see that staff have taken a bit of a strong stance on a lot of the things within here, and within some of their recommendations are, I might have gone a little bit stronger, and I think everyone understands that or realizes that. Like when you look at this and in combination with Bill 108, I mean, you can see where we're headed. I mean, at the end of the day, what's being proposed is relaxing some of the legislation that would allow for, not intensification in our areas, but for development to occur within protected areas. And I know it doesn't really state that, but you kind of read under the lines and between the lines, and that's what you're reading. You're reading that the fact that with the market-based approach, that we're going to be moving from it could move from an intensification type of settlement to settlement within our settlement area boundaries and an expansion of that, and having maybe our southern end being more developed, which is problematic. I would like to see some stronger language in there, but I think that staff have done a great job as far as putting forward some recommendations and stating that what they see wrong with the changes or the recommendations that the province is putting forward to the changes for the PPS. But I mean, geez, with the yeah. I mean, you look at weakening some of the language when it comes to climate change. They are strong on some aspects of it and what they're proposing, but overall, what I see is that I see a change in how the province wants to move forward with allowing development within our communities, and taking away, at the end of the day, ultimate authority from municipalities in governing and deciding on how we grow and the vision that we've set forward in our communities, and they're taking that away, and they're bowing to the development community and allowing them to move forward, all for what we read about the missing middle, and I'm glad to see that in the recommendation it states that what's being proposed is not necessarily going to allow for that missing middle to be built. And I agree. I've said many times that missing middle can be built today. Your mid-rise, your stacked townhomes, those can be built today. It's a matter of whether development community is willing to build those, and they're not, because they're in the game to increase their profit margin, and that's fine. I mean, we all understand that we live in a capitalistic society, and people are going to look at making a profit, and they shouldn't be that shouldn't be held against them. But at the same time, they need to adhere to our policies and our vision of our community. And what's being done here through the provincial policy statement and those changes and through Bill 108 is eroding that whole system and that legislation. And like I said, I would put some definite stronger language, but maybe when I sit down with the Premier in November and the Minister of Municipal Affairs, I'll make that clear. But I'm seeing from now everything that they're doing is they're going to go ahead with this. They're doing what's required of them to get the recommendations from the municipalities and to hear what we have to say. But at the end of the day, they're going to move forward, I think, and they're not really going to listen to what we have to say, which is a shame, because I think it's ruining the uniqueness of each of our municipalities.
Mr. Waters, I'd like to thank you and your staff for an excellent report. I agree with everything that the mayor has said. It's very, very disappointing, because we did make comments to the province, I think it was in May, and they haven't listened to anything that we've said. And I imagine that a lot of other municipalities have said. And there's some other areas. One is the the definition of areas of archaeological potential, which could have a big effect, the one about heritage attribute. The one I'd like some more information on, Mr. Waters, is protecting employment areas while permitting the introduction of some non-employment uses. From what you said here, that we'd have to be very, very careful about putting residential uses in areas that maybe, I'll let you explain it. So I'm on page 11.
Through you, Madam Chairman, the proposed PPS or the changes to the PPS are looking to introduce or increase the housing supply, and this policy does propose to do that. As you can see, we have some issues with that in terms of creating incompatibility. They're introducing residential uses within an employment area, which creates an incompatibility because residential is considered to be a sensitive land use. So those industries which, initially were there and didn't have to deal with the sensitive land use may now have to do the appropriate mitigation work to become compatible again. So we're asking for a little more direction on that and for them to reconsider what that actually means.
Yeah, because we don't want any explosions or chemical releases in areas where people are living. I'm sure there's many other things, or fires, things that you can think of. The other thing is, I don't understand this. It's on page 5, and at least I don't think I understand it. It's talking about increasing the land supply to 25 years, which does allow us to do better planning, but you say, or staff says, a better connection is required between the policies and the PPS and other provincial plans. So could you explain that?
Through you, Madam Chairman, I believe the growth plan does provide for a shorter time frame of approximately 20 years. The PPS is proposing to expand it to 25 years. There could be a number of reasons for that. One of them could be to increase the amount of land that's required within that time frame. It also provides the opportunity to undertake infrastructure planning for a longer period of time, which I think is a good thing at the end of the day.
But what would the, I don't understand what the link is. If we're going to do 25 years, expand it, it says a better connection is required between the policies and the PPS.
Through you, Madam Chairman, what we're stating in the report is that there needs to be a better alignment between the various provincial plans to recognize that a 25-year planning horizon is appropriate and should be supported in the other plans as well.
Thank you. You did mention something here about we haven't addressed garbage disposal. Oh, okay. I don't know where it is, so I'll look it up for next week. And as the mayor said, that missing middle, but also the other part that's missing is affordable housing, and that's very disappointing. From what I can understand from this report, though, it was passed, I think it was passed in May. It's already been passed. Oh, sorry, Bill 108 was passed by the province in June. So really, why would we even be commenting on this? I mean, we've put in the comments and they didn't help. Oh, this is the PPS. Okay. Okay, so I think the comments that staff has made are excellent. So thank you. Okay, Councillor Gilliland.
Thank you, through Madam Chair. Just quickly, I want to thank you very much for bringing this forward and having all those comments, and I agree with Mayor Maracus and all his comments. I will have some more questions, I think, offline, with the long weekend and everything. This was a really big document. I really want to make sure I go through it with a fine-tooth comb and make sure we don't miss anything, because this is our big shot to make sure that we can send our message. I just kind of want to make those comments, but thank you so much for standing strong to where the residents here were looking for.
Thank you, and I forgot one thing. I think that, and the mayor mentioned it, we're talking about the south end of town, that a lot of the development is on the Moraine. And we've decreased, or we've kept the density on the Moraine low for a very important reason, because it has an important ecological functioning, and actually that has a lot to do with protecting and providing clean drinking water for us. So it's huge, the intensification. And it's also, I don't really have the words to describe it. It's just extremely unfortunate. And the other thing is, with respect to the secondary dwelling units, I find that, we could take an established neighborhood and put a lot more families into it, and perhaps the services aren't there, so it could really cause some problems and also change of use. It's really disheartening. Thank you. Okay, all those in favor? All those opposed? Carries. We've done 6. We have number 7. Would anybody like to put this on the table? Thank you, Councillor Gilliland. Thank you, Councillor Kim. Any comments? Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just to put it out there to remind everyone that we are not approving this. We're allowing it to go to the Committee of Adjustment for a decision. So no decision is actually being made on the development of this application.
Thank you. I think, though, that when council allows this to go to the Committee of Adjustment, I think it does send a message to the committee, because if we really thought it was inappropriate, we wouldn't allow it to go. Well, the thing that really concerns me is the side yard. They're asking for, if you look at the pictures, this is huge. This is a huge structure that is going to be running along the neighbor's property. And the amount of space that they're asking for between their house and the side yard is just, it's very, very small. It's been reduced substantially. Okay, all those in favor of going, okay, Mayor Maracus.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a quick question through you to Mr. Waters. Mr. Waters, if the Stable Neighborhoods bylaw was not being appealed, the interim control bylaw, from my understanding, would have been lifted. And if it was lifted, then this proposal would have been able to go straight to the Committee of Adjustment. Is that correct?
Through you, Madam Chairman, that is correct.
So, I understand, Councillor, where you're coming from, but the thought is that we approved the Stable Neighborhood bylaw, and so we wanted to move forward. It's unfortunate that someone has appealed it at this point, and so now we're stuck in this limbo where the interim control bylaw is still sitting there. So realistically, because this council voted to pass that bylaw, if it did go through and there was no appeal, this interim control bylaw would not be here, and this wouldn't even be in front of us. This would have just went straight to the Committee of Adjustment. And so I really don't think it really does send a message that we're in favor of it. It's just saying that we believe that the process would have been, if no one was appealing it, this would have just went straight to the committee, the CFA. So that's the way I'm looking at it. So I don't think it sends a message to the CFA.
Through myself to Mr. Waters. Mr. Waters, but we could we could not approve this going to the Committee of Adjustment?
Through you, Madam Chairman, the Committee of Adjustment, or the staff will analyze the requested variance based on the 4 tests. And the decision by council to approve an exemption will not play into that at all. However, should the committee approve the variance, a condition will be that an exemption to the ICBL be approved before building permits can be issued and the variance comes into force.
When staff sends their report to the Committee of Adjustment, will they be noting the proponent asks for a north side yard setback of 0.91 meters, whereas the bylaw for this size house requires 3 meters? Will that be something that is addressed by our staff?
Through you, Madam Chairman, absolutely. Compatibility will be an issue. It's one of the 4 tests that we review the variances with.
Thank you very much. Okay, all those in favor? All those opposed? That carries. Are we at new business? Oh my goodness. Okay, it is 20 after, not even 20 after 8, and we are at new business. Does anybody have new business? Okay. This is a very interesting meeting. So, Mr. Clerk, my apology, you were right. We did not get to have a break, and so I did not get to ask you my question. It concerns Place Speak, and if memory serves, when we hired the consultant to do the governance review, I asked if the option of remaining in the governance model that we have now, which is no ward system, I asked if that would be one of the options, and I was told that it would be. I think I asked Mr. Mayor at another occasion if we could include that as one of the options. So on Place Speak, that is not one of the options, and I would like to know why, and I would like to know if it can be changed, because it doesn't give a fair view of all of the options. So I'm sorry if I've put you on the spot, Mr. Clerk. You can tell us next week.
Through you, Madam Chair, I just want to understand, on Place Speak itself, or is that the survey to the public at the moment, that's out at the moment?
It's the survey. So on the survey to the public that's on Place Speak?
I guess my response would be that if, in the event that someone did want the status quo, choosing 0 wards would be the way to put that through the survey, but we can try to make it more clear that it's, this is an option, or that a final decision hasn't been made yet.
Thank you. I thought it was like that on Place Speak and on the survey. Ms. Mackenzie Smith was nodding her head at the survey. If it is the survey, then for sure that has to be one of the options, because that was what was said would happen at this table. So I believe that needs to be changed, Mr. Clerk.
Through you, Madam Chair, I believe it's open-ended, so that we wouldn't, there isn't a set amount of wards, or there's not like A is 0, B is 1, but and at the end of the process, council certainly has the option of remaining the status quo, as if that's what the feedback.
Okay, I think I'll just have a look at the survey, because if it is not clear that one of the options is to maintain the status quo, it certainly needs to be included. I'll have a look at it and I'll be in touch with you. So, Councillor Thompson.
Thank you. You brought it up a little bit. I just wanted to raise attention to the fact that we do have surveys, we do have upcoming public houses coming with regards to the ward questions and inviting the public to participate. And so I thought I would give Ms. Mackenzie a little platform to talk about public engagement and some of the stuff that we're going to be doing, or actually Mr. Durand, or if Mike wants to, whoever.
Certainly. Through you, Madam Chair, every electoral system review or ward boundary review has a very important component of public engagement. So we are holding two of the first open sessions on October 23rd at the Cultural Center, October 28th here at Town Hall. We are using all of our social media platforms to get the word out of the two public information sessions. This is just the first round of public engagement. We're just trying to hear who's interested, who wants to be updated about where we're going, what do people think. And then the next round, we'll get into the serious discussion about if we do go to wards, what will they look like, where will the boundary lines be drawn, and at that point too, there'll be more public information sessions and more outreach through our social media channels, and certainly any other ways that we can think of communicating this.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to let everyone know that I did take a trip down to Toronto today to attend the Toronto Region Board of Trade luncheon that they had where the Minister of Infrastructure was making an announcement, and she announced that Ontario is going to be launching an unsolicited proposals framework program which will allow the private sector to submit innovative infrastructure proposals that will benefit the people of Ontario. Now, there was limited information as far as how detailed it was. That was in front of the Board of Trade, but I did have a discussion with the minister, and I'll be sitting down with the minister, and she'll be forwarding a lot of the information. So as I get updated and as I get more information, I will keep council informed with what that proposal looks like and how it will unfold.
Thank you very much. Could be interesting. I'd just like to ask, perhaps Mr. Durand, when we do surveys, they are considered as part of the general information gathering, and they have a certain amount of weight.
Through you, Madam Chair, that's in the consultant's hands. I tend to agree with you that what's the point of doing a survey if you're not going to consider what the feedback is? But that would be up to the consultant in terms of what they hear and what they and where it goes from there.
Thank you very much. Well, I guess we can call for an adjournment. All those Councillor Gilliland is putting the motion on the floor. Councillor Thompson, thank you again. All those in favor? At 26 minutes after 8.